Hey, what's up everybody? This is Charles and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today I got a pretty serious topic for you guys, and the topic is, are Montrez Harrell and Nerlens Noel prime examples of how Klutch Sports screws over its clients? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. And also make sure you check out Dreamerspro Max, a place you can talk about basketball, chat live during games. We have that linked in the comment section below. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So another day, and it seems like Klutch Sports are having issues with some of their clients right now. For those of you guys out there, some of you may be aware, you may have heard the name Klutch Sports in passing, but you may not know exactly who they are. So Klutch Sports is a sports agency that is based in Cleveland, Ohio, right? And this agency was founded by Rich Paul. Now, who's Rich Paul? Rich Paul is one of the close childhood friends of LeBron James, and I'm sure you've heard of some other names like Maverick Carter, who I think owns a media company. I think they have shows like Uninterrupted, and they have some episodes on HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. So these guys are young. They're basically a bunch of entrepreneurs, a conglomerate of entrepreneurs that do different things, right? But a lot of them kind of springboarded their professional careers off of LeBron James, which I think is actually a really nice thing. Like, it's a beautiful thing that LeBron James was not only able to empower himself, but also empower his close friends around him and sort of take them with him along this journey that he's been having in his life. So that's actually pretty cool and quite admirable that he was able to keep his friends close and actually put them in positions to be able to succeed at a high level and actually add a lot of value to his life. So basically that's kind of the genesis of Klutch Sports and this whole the backstory there. Now, Klutch Sports represents a plethora of NBA players, but their biggest client is LeBron James, right? Rich Paul's biggest client is LeBron James, and he represents LeBron James. And over the years, Klutch Sports has been able to amass a very impressive roster of players that they represent. For example, I'll give you a litany of some of the NBA players that they currently represent. Think of Lonzo Ball, right? Klutch Sports represents Lonzo Ball. As I aforementioned, LeBron James. They represent Miles Bridges, who plays with the Phoenix Suns. They represent Eric Bledsoe, who's now a Clipper. They represent Montrez Harrell. They represent Anthony Davis, who's also a Laker and a teammate of LeBron James. They represent Draymond Green, right? Draymond Green is represented by Klutch Sports. They represent Ben Simmons, and they also represent Tristan Thompson, and they represent some other players. But these are some of the notable names that they have out there, but they have much more players. This is just a list. This is a few of the players, so you kind of get an idea of just how robust their clientele is. So these are the players that they represent. But over the years, there have been some issues here and there with Klutch Sports and some of its clients, right? One of those was a falling out that they had that was had between Rich Paul and Marcus Morris Sr. If you guys remember, a few years back, Marcus Morris Sr. was signed to Klutch Sports, but ultimately they had a falling out, and they had an amicable falling out in which they decided to part ways, and Marcus Morris Sr. ended up getting a different agent, and ultimately he went to go sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. So you have that. And now you have the latest news, which is a pretty big developing story out there, of Nerlens Noel, who's a New York Knicks player, power forward, who is suing Klutch Sports for $58 million. $58 million, that's what he's suing them for. Now, apparently, the story goes is this, and this is just based off of what I'm hearing so far. Obviously, more information is going to come out as time goes on. This story is less than 24 hours old, so this is some of the information that I have up until this point. Apparently, the story is as follows. Nerlens Noel, I think, was a former Dallas Maverick, and he was playing with them, and he was offered, I believe it was, a $70 million deal. And Rich Paul came to him, or they had a conversation at a party or something like this, and they said, listen, turn down that $70 million deal. I think I'm going to be able to get you $100 million, a max contract down the road if you come along and sign with me. So what did Nerlens Noel do? He decided to take the advice of Rich Paul. So he turned down that $70 million contract, took, he signed for $4.1 million the next season and left that $70 million on the table. And what happened? Subsequently, he got hurt, right? And when he got hurt, he felt as if once he became a free agent again, Klutch Sports wasn't doing a good enough job representing him, presenting enough offers for him to go out there and get that $100 million contract. And as you know, in sports, your value dips tremendously if you're going into free agency and you're injured. Just go look at Isaiah Thomas. Now, there are few instances in which a player's value is not affected in the free agency market, even if they're injured. If you want to think of some examples, think of Kevin Durant. Right? Kevin Durant was going to get a Supermax contract no matter what. And he was coming off an Achilles tendon rupture when he was playing in the NBA Finals at that time with the Golden State Warriors against the Toronto Raptors. But nevertheless, teams were clamoring for his services, and the Brooklyn Nets were able to sign him to a max contract. So because they just knew he was just that good, and his market value cannot be affected by something like that, right? So there's some instances, even like if you think of Kawhi Leonard, right? Kawhi Leonard had an ACL tear on his right knee, or if I'm not mistaken, and he was still offered a Supermax contract by the Los Angeles Clippers. So these examples are far and in between, but these are superstar caliber players, right? But for the majority of normal NBA players in this particular case here, their value is going to dip, and that's exactly what happened with with Nerlens Noel. And now he's suing Klutch Sports for $58 million because he felt like that's the money he could have earned. And I'm not sure if he's going to get that $100 million contract, although now he plays with the New York Knicks, and we'll have to see. So basically, the argument out there is this. There are two kind of schools of thought surrounding this story. The first one is, should you blame Rich Paul? Should you blame him for giving? Should you blame Rich Paul for giving him that advice, or should you blame him for taking Rich Paul's advice? All right, those are the two schools of thought. And some people are saying, listen, Rich Paul is he's an agent, so he's going to go out there and say, listen, I think you're worth so and so and so. He may speak to other teams and say, listen, what do you think this guy's going to be worth in the next couple of years? And he can just go off of that and say, I think this is what you're worth. Come sign with me. I think I can get you this based on his negotiation skills and his track record and all of these different things. He said, listen, I can get you this type of contract. And, Nerlens Noel probably listened to them. And then other people are saying, listen, this guy can present any offer to you. But at the end of the day, you as an adult, you have to live with the decision that you make. And if you decide to listen to him based off of some type of projection he's going to give you in the future, then if that thing falls through, then great decision on your part. But if it doesn't, you can't hold him accountable for it, because ultimately no one pointed anything to your head and told you to make that decision. You as an adult made that decision, right? So there are two schools of thought, and people can come at this from a different angle. And depending on who's watching this video, people are going to come to different conclusions based on the way you process information and how you process issues and how you ultimately process this particular topic that I'm presenting to you here. Now, I just think that all of this is just, it's like we've been here before, right? Think of the Montrez Harrell situation, right? Think of Montrez Harrell, who's also a Klutch Sports client, by the way. Montrez Harrell, in my opinion, was in a perfect position. He was a sixth man of the year playing with the Clippers. He was a valuable asset to that team and what they were trying to do. But 2 years ago, he started making waves in the locker room. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard came in. He couldn't get along with them. Then there were stories when they went into the Orlando bubble of basically Montrez Harrell mailing it in. Kawhi Leonard's trainer was accusing him of being a double agent. And basically what probably happened was, listen, Rich Paul and these guys on LeBron James and these guys probably put a battery in his back and told him and say, hey, listen, come over here with us, right? Come over here with us. Forget about that team. Come sign with us. You're going to come here, win a championship. Your market value is going to explode, and we're going to be able to get you a major contract. And what ended up happening? He goes to the Lakers, went from being the sixth man of the year to the ninth man of the year, barely played, right? And they ended up messing up his numbers in basically his year. Then he ends up getting moved, traded to the Washington Wizards, and and he's left there holding the bag like, what just happened? Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.